This is a tutorial on variables and expressions. Up until now in math, we've always dealt with numeric expressions. Numeric expressions are just expressions with numbers in them. So 7 plus 3 minus 4 is equal to 6 is a numeric expression. 4 divided by 2 would be a numeric expression. But now that we're in algebra, we have to deal with algebraic expressions. And algebraic expressions are just expressions that have both variables and constants. So let's look at this algebraic expression. Here we have 2 times x plus 7 is equal to 15. X is our variable. Variables are often represented by letters or some other symbol that's not a number. And this just means some number. So we have 2 times some number plus 7 is equal to 15. Now we know x is our variable, and that means 2, 7, and 15 are all constants. And the reason why we call them constants is because they don't change. 2 is always equal to 2. 7 is always equal to 7, and so on. We call variables variables because they can change. There's some number, and we don't know what they are. But they represent a number, but that number can change. So here we have another algebraic expression, y minus 2. This means some number minus 2. Now we'd get tired of saying some number all the time, or if we had more than one variable, we'd have to say some number and some other number. So instead we refer to this number by its letter. So we would just say y minus 2. There's an important thing to realize with algebraic expressions, and that is the way we write multiplication. In algebra, we don't write multiplication as 2 times y like we're used to. We usually write it with 2 with y in a parentheses, or 2 with this asterisk next to a y, or often we just would write it as 2y. All 4 of these expressions all mean the same thing. They all mean 2 times y. Now the reason why we change the way we write multiplication in algebra is because x is a very common variable. And if we said 2 times x, this would get confusing. So instead we would write it as 2 times x, or just 2x. So why use algebraic expressions? Well, if Bob drives 50 miles in 1 hour, 50 miles in 1 hour, and if he were to drive for 2 hours, we would think he'd probably drive 100 miles. And if he went for 3 hours, he'd probably drive 150 miles. Well, you can think of this as 50 times 1 is 50, and then 50 times 2 would be 100, and 50 times 3 is 150. But what if we didn't know the amount of hours that Bob drives? We just know that every hour he drives, he goes 50 miles. Well, we could say that Bob's driving 50 y miles, or 50 times y miles. That means y can be 1, y can be 2, y can be 3. We don't know what y is. Y could be 100. But our algebraic expression means we don't know how many hours Bob drives. We just know he drives y hours, and his miles are going to be 50 times y. Now there's one last thing we have to learn about algebraic expressions, and that's how to evaluate them. Now algebraic expressions consist of variables, and we know variables can change. They're numbers that are changing. But often we'll be given the value of those numbers. So here we have x times y, and we're told that x is equal to 4 and y is equal to 2. Well, to solve this, we would just plug in or substitute in for x and y. So if x is equal to 4, we would have a 4, and then it's times our y value, but our y value we were told is equal to 2. So we would substitute 2 in for y, and we would get 4 times 2, which is just equal to 8. Let's try this again. Here we have n minus m, and we're told that n is equal to 4 and m is equal to 3. Well again, if n is equal to 4, we can just write a 4 instead of writing an n, and that's subtracted by m, but we know m is equal to 3, so instead of writing m, we just put down a 3. Well, 4 minus 3 is equal to 1, so as long as n is 4 and m is 3, n minus m would be equal to 1. And that completes the tutorial on variables and expressions.